First item of business is I want to say that Vice Chair Mosley is going to be a few minutes late, but she is coming. I believe Councilman Killian will be as well. We do have a quorum of council present. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Mr. Corey Guy.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's remain standing. Our Father, thank you for watching over me as I slept last night. Thank you for watching over my family, Lord. Lord, I thank you for watching over each and every person in this county, keeping them safe, keeping the children safe as they go to school, as they went to school today, Lord. And then, Lord, I thank you for what you have allowed Chester County to do going into this fourth quarter of the year. I ask that you continue to watch over each and every heart and mind on this county council so that we will continue to make decisions that are honorable to you. Then, Lord, I ask that you continue to watch over each and every employee, each and every police officer, each and every fireman, each and every government employee from public works to recreation. I ask that you watch over them and watch over their families. These and all other things, I ask in your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so the first thing we need to do is I would ask that we could amend the agenda. We need to strike item 8B from the agenda tonight. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
All right, need a second?
Second.
So the motion is to strike 8B, which is the third reading of ordinance 2025-16. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor. So that's been removed from the agenda. So next up is the approval of minutes for the August 18th, 2025 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 18th, item A.
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand to say aye.
Aye.
All right. That has been approved. Number 4, citizens' comments. We don't have anyone signed up to speak. Next, we have number 5 is the public hearing. 5A is ordinance 2025-14. The addition of definitions to Chapter 22, Article 1 in general, Section 22-1, amending language of Article 2, nuisance abatement, Section 22-19, to provide for additional conditions that result in a public nuisance and to provide for other related matters. Don't have anyone signed up for that. Next, we have item B, which is ordinance 2025-15, an ordinance approving and ratifying an amended and restated fee in lieu of tax and incentive agreement by and between Chester County, South Carolina, and BR Diversified Industrial Portfolio 6, DST, a Delaware statutory trust, and providing for other related matters. We don't have anyone signed up for that. And then ordinance 20C is ordinance 2025-16, authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax and special source revenue credit agreement by and between Chester County and Chester Asphalt Terminal, LLC, providing for a fee in lieu of ad valorem tax as incentive, providing for a special source revenue credit, creating or modifying a joint county industrial and business park agreement between Chester County and York County so as to establish or enlarge the park and other related matters. I don't have anyone signed up for that. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to any of those? If not, I will state that this public hearing is closed. That takes us to 6A, which is the first reading of ordinance 2025-20, authorizing the conveyance of easement rights to Duke Energy Carolinas, LLC, for the purpose of utility infrastructure construction and maintenance at property located at or above the Chester County Courthouse, designated as tax map number 201-11-01-007-000, and providing for other related matters. Before we take a motion on that, Mr. Hester, would you speak to that?
If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I'll have Mr. Ward come up and speak to it.
Yep.
He's been handling that for me.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, council, honored to be with you this evening. So this is a request for an easement from Duke Energy to lay underground power facilities into the courthouse area along McAlilly Street. Duke is also pursuing an easement or has secured an easement through the Department of Transportation to run underground facilities along McAlilly Street. So this is for the portion that will tie into the courthouse. It will include an underground power lines, a transformer, and a light pole. They have coordinated this project with Mr. Harold Hayes, our project manager. He's working on other projects in that vicinity, and myself over the past few months. We also have Mr. Felix Lopez, who's a senior land representative with Duke Energy here. If you have any technical questions about this project, I know he is more than capable of speaking to them. If you have any questions, I'm here as well.
If there are any questions for him, or we can move for the
Is
motion.
that part of the project to close that road off?
No, sir, it is not part of that project. It's just happening at the same time.
So what was the reason to put them under? I'm just curious.
I think Mr. Lopez can answer that question.
Good evening. So right now you have aerial power lines that are real close to the courthouse building. So they're looking at it as part of the infrastructure improvement in which they're doing a voltage conversion. They have to replace all the conductors and all the transformers to then go ahead and bury that section that is right along the courthouse. It just happens that it was a good opportunity, since there's going to be that road closure and expansion of the parking, to be able to remove several poles that are next to the courthouse. So it actually makes it for a better aesthetics and for safety.
Will there be any power outages to any of the residents that live nearby?
This is something that has been ongoing already in the city. So there's momentary power outages as they have to shift from the old infrastructure to the new infrastructure. And then there might be a coordinated general outage sometime next year once they do the voltage conversion.
So how long when they take the power down, do you know how long it normally takes?
I do not know the specifics of how long it is.
Is there a way to notify residents that it may be going out for that?
Yes, Duke has been coordinating to send notifications out to the consumers about it ahead of time, so they're being aware.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion on that.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2025-20.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Is there any discussion? Not, I'll call for the question. Those in favor of the first reading of ordinance 2025-20, raise your right hand to say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor? All right, that brings us to item 6B, which is the second reading of ordinance 2025-19, which is amending ordinance number 2018-11 as amended and clarified by ordinance number 2022-13 as further amended by ordinance number 2023-15 to provide for the allocation of fee in lieu of tax revenues for some property located in the county and providing for other related matters.
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-19.
Is that ordinance the one that's concerning the fire departments?
That's correct.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have several issues. I got this today. When we're getting ready to do fee in lieu of taxes, Mr. Hester's been going around talking and everything. And the other night at the county meeting that Mr. Guy had, and part of what he said, it says, may give you money. It doesn't say we will give you the tax money. It says we may give you. So somebody's going to make a decision that's going to override Mr. Steele, Mr. Jerry Williams, Mr. Charlie Barber, Ms. Rice, and Mr. Coleman. Somebody's going to make a decision that these men have been the chairman of the Richburg Fire District and all of those for 20-something years. It says it may give you the money. And what's been said was all that. But at any rate, long story short, the fire departments are very dear to my heart. Everybody in this room ought to know that. But I got something today that just blew me away. these fee in lieu of taxes, and why is this in such a big rush to go? I mean, it's like we got to do this, but it really doesn't take effect until next year. Well, Mr. Kozlarek is an expert on this. He was involved in a fee in lieu of tax deal in Jasper County, and he lost the case. But the Constitution, they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that they could go and let the counties negotiate a fee in lieu of tax, and they could take that money and spend it anywhere they wanted to within the county. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just telling you what I was told. South Carolina has lost $3.2 billion in fee in lieu type accounts since 2017. Since 2017. That $3.2 billion has been taken away from the school districts. Now, I'm not the biggest school fan with some of the stuff that's gone on in the school districts, but $3.2 billion. You'll never guess who's number 2 in leading that list. Dorchester County is number 1. Chester County is number 2. They negotiate these fee in lieu of taxes with a multi-county industrial park. That's very important to remember. A multi-county industrial park that does not exist anywhere except in the mines. York County gets 1%, Chester County gets to keep all that. The school district gets 15% of whatever that is, and so the fire districts get a little bit, the library gets a little bit, York Tech gets a little bit. All of these little things are going to get a little bit. So at any rate, Chester County gives $2,900 out of every student. And the difference is the fee in lieu of tax versus ad valorem taxes. If I didn't give this, the ad valorem taxes add up to $115 million since 2017. So now they get some. So curiosity is about to kill a cat, and I don't know the answer to it right yet, but in about 2 weeks I'll know the answer to this. And so therefore, I'm not going to vote for this tonight, but I am going to read a piece of paper that I wrote, if I can find it. But at the end of the day, this is what's going on. I cannot say a great deal at this time. However, I will say this, and I just got through saying what I can say. I have retained legal counsel to review these matters in detail and to help me fully understand what's happening. My understanding thus far is that while the fire districts are important, there are many other issues at hand that must all be considered, and that's the school districts. We are taking money out of these children's hands. My goal remains the same, to represent the people of District 1 to the very best of my ability, and that's exactly what I intend to do. Once I have received all the information, and I should know this in the next 2 weeks, the guidance from my attorney, I will share that information openly so that everyone will know exactly what I know. There's no reason for this to be fast-tracked. There's absolutely no reason for this to be fast-tracked. There's got to be some reason, and that's what I'm trying to get to. Thank you.
Mr. Hester.
So thank you, Mr. Agee. And so there's a perspective for all council members and the public. There's a perspective across the United States. It's not just in South Carolina, that fee and lieu's multi-county industrial parks take away from those who receive ad valorem tax. But what I would submit to you is that, are they taken away from nothing? Because without multi-county industrial parks, without incentives for industry to come, they don't come. They're going to go to where those are offered, whether it's Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, anywhere else in this country. And so my argument to those that pose the argument that we're taking money when we don't pay an ad valorem tax, or we don't charge an ad valorem tax and we charge a fee in lieu, is, what is something from nothing? Nothing. Because if they don't come here, you get nothing. The schools do not get that 15%. We've always given the schools 15% of their operating fund prior to the very first few years where it was an ad valorem based, but then it was lower. 15% was more than that number. And so the argument that there is, that we're taking money out of these kids, this is money that this county, the schools, the fire departments would have never gotten. We would have had to raise millage to do the things that we've done. We are extremely heavily reliant on residential property taxes in Chester County because of our size of our population. And so therefore, we are reliant on these industries to keep the tax rate level. The past 3 years, when Donnie comes up here and he presents the tax rate, that's only because of the businesses that they have worked hard to recruit and to offer those incentives to. And that happens all over the state. If they don't come to Chester, they're going somewhere else. Am I right? Economic development. And so that, while I understand and appreciate the comments, I would submit to you that it's the only way to gain that revenue as well.
Help me understand the clarity of, and make it clear to me. This is the second time I've heard that, and it could be something that I'm missing or going straight over my head, but this is the second time I've heard that we're taking money out of the school district's fund. I just can't see it. Is it something that I'm missing in this? I don't see how, if we're giving them their 15%, how are we taking anything? And this is not the first, Mr. Agee just said it, but I've heard it again. I heard it before that.
So that rumor
I need some clarity on that. I need the citizens to hear some clarity.
I've heard that rumor as well recently with regard to this fire. This change in the fee in lieu has created a little bit of a stir regarding that matter, and the comment was made that we're taking money out of the school district. We haven't taken anything. It's still 15%. The only money that, and it wasn't money, it was part of their debt obligation, was when 2 years ago we voted to take that 15% and fund Richburg Fire's full-time firefighters. That's how we paid for that.
When did we vote on that?
2 years ago. That would have been 2023. I was in the 23-24 budget. And so that came out of their debt millage. And the reason it came out of their debt millage is because, and I'm going to try to explain this as easily as possible, but their debt millage, they had unused capacity. They didn't need that 15% to just keep adding. It would be like us budgeting something to just add on top of what we have. It was almost like the change we're doing right now. It would be like us budgeting something, a percentage of money to just add on top of something that already funded itself and had room to fund more. So that was the only change that was made. And so now the school district still has 15% going to its operating budget, and we have not changed that one bit. And as the fee in lieu funds grow, their money grows as well.
At the end of the day, the legislature is probably going to change this law. That's what this is all about.
Am I clear in understanding that the question is not that fee in lieu of taxes in that whole structure? It's just what we're going to do with the fee in lieu of taxes we collect, correct? That's what this ordinance is stating.
That's correct.
We already have that process in place. We already have that money coming to us. So it's really a non-issue as far as this ordinance is concerned.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Agee, so the document that you held up in the air there, what's the title of it? And would you read it aloud? What's the title of it? Who's the author?
Cost of corporate tax breaks for the Carolina schools, South Carolina.
And who's it by?
It is by Annie Gazis, and it's Good Jobs First.
Goodjobsfirst.org. I would encourage folks to go read what they're about and who they are. So, with that said, it's just important that we have good sources. I don't believe that's a good source.
Well,
It's printed, but just because it's printed doesn't mean
It was in the Post.
Herald, if you believe
It was in the Post and Courier a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's not the most reputable source in my book, but let folks look it
That's
up.
your opinion, Mr. Wilson.
It is, and I said that. In my book, it's not. Certainly, I would encourage folks to go look it up for themselves and read all about that organization and see who they are and where they're from and what they're doing. So we do have a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion? If not, I'll call for the question. So we have a motion and a second for the second reading of ordinance 2025-19. Those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, so we got 3 to 1. The motion passes. Moves on to C, which is resolution 2025-20, providing approval for a $100,300 local match for a $750,000 community development block grant for firefighting equipment to be used as part of the Great Falls Fire Department and providing for other related matters. Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2025-20.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? Mr. Hester, would you?
Where's the block grant?
So, I'm sorry, what was your question, Mr. Edwards?
Where's the block grant coming from?
It's, that one's a CDBG grant. And Mr. Benson, you want to come up and, Mr. Wilson, is it okay if he presents on 2025-20 and 2025-21? Make it easy.
That'd be
He's going to
great, yeah.
explain it, and the LMI related to this and so forth.
So again, that's C, D, and
I'm sorry, just C and D.
C and D. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Good evening, Chair, Council. The resolution for C, the fire truck, that's CDBG grant for, it's going to be for the Great Falls Fire District. The stipulations for this grant is it has to be low to moderate income, 51% plus. So what we had to do is get random general addresses that were provided by the COG to us for us to visit, and we had to eventually go to, provided was 66 addresses, but we had to do 116 addresses to get the information needed for this grant. And we have 2 years to spend this money, and we asked for the 10% match, and that brings us to $100,300. That's $25,000 for the COG, and then a $300 environmental fee. And then the second part for the ambulance, that's part of the CDBG, but it's considered a little bit different. It's called a Locals Priority Program. And that this is for new and expanded public service for, addresses health and safety. So with us adding EMS 5 to Western Chester and that being a new service, that provides us opportunity to get funding for an ambulance. So we're trying to find resources to continue to fund our public safety. With that grant, total is $300,000 that we could get. Again, the 2 years that we have to spend this money, the match that we're asking for is above the minimum, but we can add that into capital next year. It doesn't have to come out of this year. So outside of buying an ambulance, there's a lot more that needs to go into it when we add in equipment. And we visited 64 residences in Westchester for that particular.
And I would like to just make a quick statement that we sat with our Public Works Director. There was a whole group of us from our staff that sat with the COG at a table. And then a young lady from Columbia who is with the Department of Commerce who represents HUD, and basically went through every grant that was offered by them, every grant that there was an opportunity, not just for fire or EMS. And these were the only two that we qualified for. And again, they had to go out and do the LMI surveys, but I think we stand a good shot at these. And again, putting all the capital that it costs to go along with that ambulance, because we're still $78,000 short of the ambulance with the grant. So when you add the extra money and then the striker system and put the equipment in it, and that'll help bolster our chances of getting that as well.
And I would like to emphasize for the fire truck, I did apologize for leaving that out. In order to get a fire truck, you must provide a lower ISO score. And looking at our areas that meet the LMI qualifications are very limited. And in addition to that, the fire departments, for us to be able to get that lower ISO, Great Falls fit the bill for that. So their last ISO inspection was a 67.86. To get them to an ISO 3, they need to have 70 points. Getting this new service truck is worth 4 points. So for us, that's a win-win. And that was the decision maker for us to go with Great Falls for the fire truck.
Is this Catawba Regional?
Yes, sir.
It didn't come up the other day when I was at the meeting. I mean, I'm not doubting it, but they didn't talk about this at the meeting the other day. I'm all for it, don't get me wrong, but it just didn't come up in the meeting where they discussed it, that they were gonna work with y'all to get this. I don't know why, but.
I'm not sure which meeting that is, sir, but
I think it's a COGS monthly meeting, correct,
Yeah.
Mr. Agee? Yeah, and so we've been working with Ms. Grazier Ray and her staff, and so
Is that
we did just get
Grazier?
final documents at the end of last week.
Ms. Grazier Ray?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, is there any more discussion?
thank you.
Not, I'll call for the question. So this is, again, item 6C, which is Resolution 2025-20. Those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor on that. That brings us to 6D, which is Resolution 2025-21, providing approval for a $208,786 local match for a $300,000 community development block grant for an ambulance and related equipment to be used as part of the Westchester EMS service area and providing for other related matters. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve Resolution 2025-21.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. Next, we have Resolution 2025-22. This is item 6E, authorizing the transfer of a service weapon to Deputy Al Crawford upon retirement in recognition of distinguished service. And I will just read the title on that. That is upon retirement and recognizing his distinguished service. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
I make a motion, we approve Resolution 2025-22.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second. Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, next up is item 6F, Resolution 2025-23, providing preliminary approval for certain incentives to induce investors identified for the time being as Project Blank Page, acting for itself, one or more current or future affiliates, and other project sponsors, collectively the company, to establish or expand certain facilities in Chester County, South Carolina, the county, including a negotiated fee and ad valorem tax arrangement. Number 2, inclusion of the project site in a multi-county industrial and business park. Number 3, special source credits to be applied against fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes and other related matters.
Make a motion, we approve Resolution 2025-23.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any discussion?
Yes, can we get Mr. Hessel to speak on this?
Sure.
Make the same statement, I'm not gonna vote for a multi-county industrial park ever again, as long as it's like it is.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Hester, Councilman Guy asked that you would speak to this.
I'm going to pass this one over to Mr. Kozlart.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, this is a proposed investment by a manufacturing firm in the county. The investment would be approximately $9.3 million with the creation of 36 new full-time equivalent jobs. The county's offer would be a 6% fee in lieu of tax with a fixed millage rate, a 5-year investment window, and a 20-year term. There would also be a special source revenue credit for years 1 through 5 at 30% and years 6 through 10 at 10%.
Mr. Kozlark, how much money is that? Not percentage, how much money?
I do not have the calculation in front of me. I don't know if our economic development folks have the fee in lieu of tax run. This is only preliminary approval. It's an inducement resolution. Obviously, if this were to move forward, council would have 3 readings of an ordinance and an opportunity. We could certainly ensure that those
End of the
figures.
day, if it's $1 million, the school district gets 15%.
I believe that's the current, well, that's being discussed this evening, obviously, and that's the current number. But my understanding is that's been the current number for several years.
And I think it's important for everybody to understand it's not 15% of investment. or it's not 70% of investment or 5% of it. It's the percentage due to the county after the tax returns are filed. So that number is going to be much, much different and much, much smaller than the initial investment. And, you know, I was thinking when we were talking about this about the comment that we were second in the state, and I think that too was probably due to Albemarle, the largest, one of the largest ever to come to South Carolina, if not the largest, at 1.3 billion. So this is a Lancaster County company that's relocating as well. So just important to understand.
And it's important to know, too, that this was brought to county council in executive session, and
Correct.
these terms were discussed at that time. So
That is correct.
This is taking action on advice and information given in executive session at a previous meeting.
That's great.
This isn't the first time we've heard of it. Anyway. So we have a motion to approve, right? And so is there any more discussion? All right, I'll call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I'm sorry, I
Yes.
raised my hand.
So that's 3-1. It's approved. Next up is 6G, Resolution 2025-24, adopting the self-evaluation plan, the transition plan, and other related policies and procedures, all according to the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, and providing for other related matters.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-24.
I'll second.
All right. Mr. Hester, would you speak to this? Who you're going to pass?
you
it
don't
on? There we
mind,
are. I
I'm
need to
gonna-
look straight ahead. All right, so we have our Public Works Director, Ms.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Council. Thanks for your time this evening. The American Disabilities Act was passed in 1973. As a part of the compliance with that act, the local government must complete a self-evaluation and transition plan. The last time that was done for us was 2009, so we need to update it. And we have met with the committee to update this plan, the transition plan, and we met with them on July 22nd, and the next step of that is bringing it to you for your approval. This is required for CDBG grants and funding, and would be very important for the ambulance and fire truck project just discussed.
All right, are there any questions? I want to thank the committee for their hard work and ongoing work.
I'll just add, that was an awful lot of paperwork. I don't know
Was a lot.
who evaluated all that, but it had to have been a lot of work. We
Luckily-
appreciate it.
Yeah, we had a good start, and it's just an update, so it wasn't
Yeah.
too tearful.
If there are no more questions, then I'll call for the questions. So those in favor of Resolution 2025-24, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's all in favor. Thank you. All right, that brings us to number 7, the Administrator's Report. Mr. Hester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, council members. So I have a couple of introductions to make first. I'm not gonna do them one at a time and embarrass them, but I'll ask them all to stand up if they don't mind. So Aaron, would you stand up, Jamie and Martin, please? There's Jamie over there. Perfect. So Erin Revis is our new recycling coordinator. She started on July 28th. And I'm just now getting her in front of you guys to introduce her, but she's been doing a great job at our recycling center. She was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she now lives in Blackstock for the last 6 years here in Chester. And she's very deeply committed to advancing our environmental goals with our recycling centers and been doing a great job. Jamie is no stranger to us, right? And she's, if anyone remembers, Jamie used to be my assistant, the first assistant that we had here at Chester, and but I was too much for her, so she left. I'm just kidding. She was in EMS prior to, and she really loves EMS, and she's really found her home, and so she wanted to go back to the EMS world, had went back to Lancaster for a while, came back to us as a part-time employee as well, and now she is our new EMS training officer, because if you remember, we promoted our previous training officer to the deputy director position, Andrea Pelkey. And so Jamie, again, she's a Chester girl, and we're happy to have her back with us. And then Martin Lane. Today is his first day with us. He is our new Parks and Recreation Supervisor, and I know everybody's excited to have that role filled again. And so he's a lifelong Carolinian, a father of two. He's deeply involved in creating inclusive, enriching recreational opportunities with over 12 years of experience in local government, specializing in park and recreation. He worked for the city of Rock Hill, worked for Fountain Inn. He currently lives outside of Chester, but he's got to get his two sons through high school, and he wants to relocate back down this way. But we're really thankful to have his expertise and the things he did in Rock Hill and Fountain Inn and the rest of his background. We're really happy to have him here as well. So thank you all, and welcome to Chester County. So if you notice, we got a little bit bigger crowd in the room tonight. So we have, would everybody that's in our Citizens Academy please stand up? I know you got your books in your lap and you're like, wow. So we have members of our Citizens Academy here. This is a regular class for them, part of this year's, and you can have a seat. Thank you all. And part of this year's agenda and curriculum was for them to make one of their classes a council meeting, so they can actually see you guys in action. But we appreciate them being here tonight. We appreciate them taking part in Citizens Academy. This is a great program. We really we'll try to do 2 of these a year. This is our second Citizens Academy. And but we just appreciate them being here and learning about their county government and how it works. Other things to report, we had a successful town hall meeting last week on Thursday night. Mr. Guy, Ms. Mosley were there, and Mr. Agee as well. And so we had a lot of good questions, a lot of good information was presented, and I think we're working on tomorrow posting some of the follow-up questions. A lot of the questions centered around their ISO ratings and how that got communicated to their insurance companies. There's actually a lot of questions surrounding fire. And then there was a portion of that town hall meeting that was on projects and another portion on reassessment. So it went for about 2 hours. We had really good feedback, a lot of good comments when I left, a lot of people that took that information and hopefully communicated it in the community. Winchester Phase 1 has broken ground. They are clearing trees for Phase 1 as we speak. The goal, I believe, Mr. Ward, their goal is to be, is Mr. Ward, there he is, sorry, right in front of me. Their goal is to start going vertical before the end of the year. That's correct? And then Woodhaven is in the beginning of the plat and bond submittal for Phase 3. Phase 3 is across the street and on a cul-de-sac, but it is only 28 homes. They've already done Phase 1 and Phase 2 submittals and bond, and so this will be the last of their residential phase, not counting the multifamily phases that they have. A reminder for council that the roads package went out last week from Devin, our Public Works Director, and we'll be having, prior to next council meeting, we'll be having a CTC meeting. Before that meeting, which is September 15th at 5:30, if you pay attention in that packet, there's funding for the TAP, for our portion to match of the TAP grant for the sidewalks that we all considered, you all considered, that we brought before you, and we've been awarded that grant that will put sidewalks coming down from Woodhaven down. It'll go behind Woodhaven subdivision across to the school, then it'll go down McCandless, down to Highway 9 and connect down by the school as well. So in conjunction with the school district, we were awarded that grant. And then I'm going to make another announcement, and I didn't have her stand up. I didn't want to embarrass her, but I'm looking at her right now. But this is the cool thing about Citizens Academy, too. But maybe she applied prior to the Citizens Academy. But I'm happy to report that one of our participants, Miss Adelma Gregory Burnell, has accepted a job as our Public Works Administrative Assistant, and her first day is tomorrow. Adelma, will you stand up, please? I'll read you her bio next time. Thank you, and we welcome you as well. And so I'd just like to point out that all those positions are not newly created positions. They are positions that we have just had attrition in over time and that we have filled, whether it's through promotion or whatever. Ms. Wilkes is actually retiring after 32 years, I believe Ms. Wilkes has. And so there's a little transitional training. Adelma will start working with her tomorrow and start to learn all about roads in Chester County. So we welcome her. And then just remember, this is for the public. Sometime in September, you'll start to see changes outside the Roddy Building as we start to remove the Bradford pear trees, which is a project we discussed prior to summer, that are all around the building. Of course, they're considered an invasive species, and we'll be replacing all those trees with oak trees. And so we're kind of some discussion that our Public Works Director and myself were having as to we're going to start those in October or November. We want to make sure that we plant them at the best possible time of year to give them a great opportunity. But those will be 3 to 4 inch oak trees that'll be planted. And I mean big around, not tall. Okay, everybody, that'll take a while. But the goal is to get rid of those Bradford pears that are pretty about once a year, and then a pain the rest of the year, and get these new trees up. But so if you see that happening, we're not just tearing things down, we're making progress. So with that, I conclude my administrator's report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hester. I want to welcome the Citizens Academy class. So thank y'all so much for joining us, and we're doing our very best to keep this interesting. So we're gonna keep at it. So next is our consent agenda, and I would request that we remove item 8C from the consent agenda, and we'll deal with that one separately. If there's no objections, we'll move forward with the consent agenda, which is items A. B has already been removed from the agenda. It's been removed completely. So we have A, the third reading of ordinance 2025-14. We have D, which is the second reading of ordinance 2025-17. And then we have E through, well, it's going to be the second reading of CCTA 25-07, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So you see those in your agenda. So that's where we're at. Is there a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda with the removal of item B.
C.
So C, actually.
C?
But B's been removed as well. So B when we opened the meeting, we removed B.
D's been removed also.
B is in boy.
B is in boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so B and C are not a part of this. That's not a part of this.
B and C.
B and C.
Okay, make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of items Bravo and Charlie.
Thank you.
Good.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, not including B or C. Is there any discussion?
What about D? D is IKO, has that got a multi-county industrial park?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna vote no.
Do you want that removed from the consent agenda?
I'm not gonna vote for D.
Let's back up then, and let's take that one back out if we could. Will y'all withdraw your motions?
I'll withdraw my second.
Withdraw my first.
All right.
I'll remake the motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of items Bravo, Charlie, and Delta.
I'll second.
All right. So we have that as a motion. Is there any more discussion? All right, I'll call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I did remove that.
Did you take it
Yes,
out?
it's out. Yeah. Yes, sir. It's not included.
Okay. I'll vote.
All right, so that motion is approved 4-0. So next, that brings us to, of course, B has been removed completely. Now we're looking at item, I apologize for a little bit, let's see, 8C. So we have the second reading of ordinance 2025-18 to repeal the county's land development regulations enacted December 11th, 2002, as subsequently amended, and replace the same by enacting Chapter 2 Subdivision and Land Development Regulations of the county's Unified Development Ordinance and to provide for other related matters. I requested that we take this off the consent agenda because I had some feedback from the community that we would maybe encourage crawl spaces in homes, particularly in large subdivisions. And I'd ask our Planning and Development Director, Mr. Ward, to come forward. So we've had this conversation prior to today. There would be a possibility that that could be included as one of the things that we would include as, would you explain it? Yeah.
Yes, sir, there absolutely is. So one of the key features of this new subdivision code is putting in architectural requirements for the first time, and these would be across the board requirements depending on the size of the subdivision based on how many requirements they have. For instance, a smaller subdivision has less than the largest of subdivisions. One of the other key features of our new code is that we are not requiring every house look the exact same. We're requiring a higher level of architectural rigor and one that conforms with our history, with the rich heritage of architecture in the South and in South Carolina, but we're not forcing them all to look exactly the same. So in our code, Table 2.8, it has a variety of options that builders can pick, for instance, 1 out of 3, like a front porch, variety of colors of houses, side or rear loaded garages as well, so we don't have all front loaded garages. So I do believe after some research that adding crawl spaces to that list would be appropriate. My research has indicated that that is the traditional way of house construction in the South for a variety of reasons, including moisture, termite prevention, easier access to utilities. So it would be in keeping with our history and heritage. I believe houses with crawl spaces also do command a higher premium. So in short, I think it would be worthy of consideration to this list. If requested, we can add it to those options for medium, major, and mega subdivisions as one of the options that they have to pick from, if that is your request.
So that would be my request, that we would add it as an option. So not a requirement, but as a builder looks at their options, that would be another option that they could choose from that list.
I agree with that.
That's fine.
So that,
Out of curiosity, what does that do to plan development? Is getting put on a slab? Is that going to eliminate that?
no. So, Mr. Ward, if you would speak to that for me.
Absolutely. Well, that's a good question. And I think the question that I would need from you as a council is if you have an opinion on what percentage this should be. So for instance, if Mr. Smith wants to come in and build a new subdivision and he wants to choose this option as opposed to the front porches or one of the other options, would your preference be that all houses have to have a crawl space, 75%, 50%, 40%?
What are the percentages for the front porches and other features?
For front porches, the requirement is that at least 40% of the houses do have a front porch. For others, the side and rear loaded garages at 75%. No more than 75% may have a front loaded garage. So really 25% have to have a rear or side loaded garage.
So, I did not, in my mind, I was not thinking all, no. I was thinking a percentage, just as we've done with the other features. Do you want to do some research? And
I can do some
as you
research.
put together the draft for the third reading?
Absolutely.
You know,
I would recommend somewhere between 40 and 60%, but I'll do
Sounds
some
reasonable.
research on that.
Right.
Mr. Ward, typically, houses with crawl spaces, the construction is more, right?
I believe construction costs are slightly more, yes, sir.
Yeah.
However, the houses wear better. They have less maintenance issues long-term from what I have been told. So it is a trade-off there.
What I like about it, I had a citizen contact me, and that was some feedback they gave me. But what I like about the idea is that it just adds to the variety of housing in Chester County. So if you're a homeowner that wants a crawl space, there's an option out there for you to find one of these homes in one of these developments that might have a crawl space. Variety, I think, is a good thing.
And Mr. Ward, just to clarify, this would be in those medium, major, mega, and this would be in the color code choice section
Correct.
where you've got to choose depending on the size, you choose one or two of these options, and there would be other options for builders to choose from as well.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. So this will not be a requirement. In addition, if you're just building a single house on your property, this won't even apply to you. If you're building up to 5 houses on your property, this won't apply to you. It's just for real subdivisions.
Thank you.
You mentioned 5 just now. I want to, I got a call from the chairman of the planning board Friday about the 5 houses and 6 houses on a cul-de-sac. And he had said that they wanted to put 6. And the paperwork you had said 5, but I don't see it in this. Is that, he was thinking that was going to be on the agenda tonight.
I believe what you're referring to, Councilman Agee, is the limit for minor subdivisions. Those were discussed at length a few months ago, and 5 was the number that the county council settled on. Chairman Huff and I and the rest of the planning commission as well have had further conversations after that fact. There are mixed opinions. Some think it should be lower than 5. Some think it should be higher. We do have a very good process in here for a citizen to apply for relief in the form of a variance through the ZBA. If, for instance, it's a family that wants to add just one more lot on a gravel road. So I do believe, in my professional opinion, we have a very good option here to not burden our citizens while maintaining safe roads and subdivision construction in our county.
I just think you need to get with the chairman of the planning commission and work it out if there's a question. It's not me.
Yes, sir. I've had many conversations with Chairman Huff. If county council wishes to change that number from 5, that's a decision for county council to make.
All right, he needs to come and tell you, or you need to come tell us why he wants that done.
Mr. Chairman, talking about the crawl spaces again, I think the council needs to consider that if we do add crawl spaces as a variety, we also should make it set a standard for the crawl space. I don't want to see houses with crawl spaces that are block and not covered with stucco. In these developments, I'd rather see, if you're going to do a block crawl space, it needs to be covered with stucco or brick veneer, in my opinion. I think there needs to be a standard set for the crawl spaces that we do allow to be part of this variety. I think we need to discuss that.
I completely agree. With your permission, I can draw up a draft, review it prior to the next meeting.
Thank you.
I'm in total agreement. Yeah.
Thank you. Mhm.
That's a good idea.
So, I'll put it in the form of a motion that we approve the second reading of ordinance second reading of 2025-18 with the amendment to include crawl spaces with either stucco or brick veneer as an additional option as discussed.
I'll second that.
All right, is there any more discussion? And I'll call for the question. So those in favor of the second reading of ordinance 2025-18, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's all in favor. All right, so that brings us to item D, which is the second reading of ordinance 2025-17, authorizing the execution and delivery of a First Amendment to fee in lieu of tax and incentive agreement by and among Chester County and ICO Glass Fiber and ICO Matt Tech, previously identified as Project Phoenix 22, acting for themselves, one or more affiliates and/or project sponsors, pursuant to which the company and the county agreed to certain amended incentives and amended performance measures and providing for other matters.
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-17.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? Not, I'll call for the question. Those in favor of second reading of ordinance 2025-17, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion passes 3-1. All right, brings us to, there's no old business tonight, so that brings us to our new business, which is item 10A, the setting of the 2025 millage rates. I'll invite our auditor, Donnie Wade, to come forward.
Well, good evening. Let me bring it down. Good evening. It's always a pleasure to come here and set the millage each year. I know everybody looks forward to this. I want to say thank you to Corey for what he did. The citizens were a little upset. They weren't sure of things. That was a good move.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can appreciate the passion of all of the councilmen here. They do a great job in our community. Before I move on, I wanted to say one thing. Thank you to the Citizens Academy here. I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're learning something because you're our biggest fans. You are our biggest fans. You are the people who can do the most good for us in this community. So I appreciate you being here. And I didn't want to pass up Marquita Fair, too. She's here with us tonight and from the city of Chester. And so I appreciate her being here because she has some good news for us as well, hopefully coming in the future. If you look up on the board there, you will see this is the PowerPoint that Brian had over at Memorial Building. If you notice the different years at the top, you see the operating millage remain the same, 22, 23, 24. And you see the same thing with the county bonds. That's a good thing. That's one of the things that Mr. Wilson wanted when he first came on council. I remember that very well. And so that's a good thing that our council's been able to do.
Donnie, can I clarify
Sure.
real quick?
Yes.
The chart you see on the right with Lando, Richburg, Fort Lawn, and Lewis, those are not the towns. Those are special purpose fire districts that you as council are in control of setting the millage.
Correct. And while Brian's right there on that point, you notice Chester Fire is not on there this time. Chester Fire most recently has moved to where they are, basically, they would be approving their own millage. They'd have to certify that to us. So that's a move that we had to make this year, and that's why you don't see them listed in our millages here. If you look at our sheet that should be in your packet, as you notice in 24, like I said, you had the millage stayed the same. For 25, we are in a reassessment year. In a reassessment year, the property values increase. As they increase, the millage comes down. If you notice what I am proposing here, me and Mr. Darby, he's on vacation, he wasn't here today, but we have went through these numbers with the assessed values that we've been given. Also through Rick Anderson's office, helping us with that. And we have proposed here for you, as you notice on the right-hand side, a decrease in county operations millage of 14 mills, and then 1.6 on county debt, 0.7 on millage funds, library 0.6, York Tech 0.2, Lando Fire District operations 1.1, 0.6 on their debt service, 0.5 on their operations for Richburg Fire, 0.4 on debt service. Lewis, you had 1.4. And of course, rounding out the bottom there, Fort Lawn Fire Operations 1.2, then 0.3 on their debt service. That is a good thing. It's a very good thing. I've been the auditor here 19 years. This is the first time I've been able to be in a position where I could say, here comes the property values. As they go up, the millage comes back. That's a good thing. That's the right thing. That's what the law requires us. If you notice in our note there, it says, in accordance with South Carolina Code of Law 1237-251 for the calculation of rollback millage, based on calculations with the proposed 25 tax levy estimates indicate that the proposed millage supports the approved budget that you've already approved earlier this year for 26, without having to adjust millage for CPI and growth. Now, we had capacity, but we didn't have to use that capacity. And so that's great news for the taxpayers. I'm one of those taxpayers. That's good news for me. And I can appreciate that because I know that that's what you've done as a council. And that's what we've done as administration with myself, Tommy, the assessor's office. You can be proud that these numbers can be counted on. and that they meet the budget. So, with that being said, I would just offer to you to approve these rollback millages. And then I'll make another statement after that, if that's okay with y'all.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Have you shared these calculations with, the municipalities and the school district?
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that. This is the first time that we've been able to share the information, and that's why I'm glad Ms. Fair is here today. I had a good conversation with her earlier today. I've spoken with the school district. I don't want to speak out of turn, but it looks like they're going to roll their millage back for their debt service and for their operations, which there again is another new thing I've never seen. That's good. As far as municipalities, we're working with the town of Great Falls, we're working with the town of Fort Lawn, and of course, we're working with the city of Chester. I'm glad that you decided to make a move and set the millage earlier in the month, because that kind of sets the precedence for the others. Hey, if the county's going to do the right thing, we're going to do the right thing. So far, that's what I'm seeing. That's more good news for all of us. And so, that being said, thank you for that. I'm sorry for that oversight.
No, no problem.
Yeah.
I do have one question.
Sure.
I know the answer, and I know you're going to tell me what it is, but for the sake of argument, fee in lieu of taxes are not calculated in the total assessed value of the county.
Correct. That's considered as other revenue. Correct.
It's just on ad valorem taxes.
Ad valorem taxes are, I don't know how deep you want me to go into taxes, but basically a fee in lieu is considered an other revenue source.
It's other revenue sources that are funding the county because the county budget is greater than 149.9 mils.
Well, actually, we had more capacity.
We didn't raise the raise the
Right, we
millage
didn't. Right, we
because
didn't.
he's spending it out of fee in lieu of taxes. That's what he said the other night.
Well, I don't really want, that's sort of a double-edged question there. The budget ideally is funded out of more than just taxes. I'll leave it right there. How about that?
Well, the reason I'm asking the question, in the state of South Carolina back in the 30s, a law was passed that 1% of all the assessed value of a county is given to the volunteer firefighters in that county. It's called 1% money.
Oh, yeah, I'm very familiar with 1%.
1% money is,
Oh, and let me clarify that. I'm glad you brought that point up. That's a good point. 1% fireman's money, a lot of counties, I don't know if they even include their buildings for fee in lieu buildings. I do. I have spoken with, what's the guy's name?
Joe Palmer came up
Joe
here.
Palmer. He came up here. He sat at my desk. He said, "You're probably one of the first that's doing it correctly." And so that's what I do. We do that calculation every year because we want our firemen to get the most they can out of that 1%.
Well, that's why I asked you a question. Fee in lieu of taxes is not counted in that. That 1% money does not include fee in lieu of taxes because only the ad valorem taxes, what you and Joe Palmer discussed, go into that. And then that 1% money is given to the fire departments based on the assessed value of their fire district.
Right, but now what the point I'm making to you is the buildings and their value. In other words, I have to do a manual calculation to get what their value is for those buildings. So in other words, the firemen are getting their share of everything. I can't say that's the case in every county.
Right.
And I will tell you this, we have been harping on the state to get that money here faster. Unless it came in late last week, I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it's due right now.
Oh, it's 100% due. You're correct. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Joe Palmer, yeah, we corrected that many years back. And so each of the districts, if they qualify, they get their full, and we do that on a basis based on, you know, the different shares of it, which the firemen have had no issue with that whatsoever, that I'm aware of.
Well, I got your back, man.
Right, good.
All right.
So I'll entertain if there's a motion to approve this millage rates as presented by our auditor, Mr. Donnie Wade.
I make a motion to approve the 2025 millage rates by Mr. Donnie Wade.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, you know, since we are doing this really 2 weeks earlier than usual,
Correct.
I'm hoping that, you know, the other entities in the county will look and notice that we did it and we're able to roll our millage back. There was a lot of concerned citizens when reappraisals went out, and I think this is going to help. I hope they understand that, hey, this is actually going to help all of us, all taxpayers in the county, pay a little less.
Well, it helps us all on many different fronts. It raises our value of a meal. It helps us with our funding. There's a whole lot of positives. And one thing that gets left out a lot of times in the conversation is this. It's not like we sit down there and say, well, golly, how much revenue can we generate for the county? No, by law, the Department of Revenue requires every county in the state of South Carolina to have a reappraisal every 5 years. That's by law. That's not by Donnie or Tommy or this council or anybody else. That is a state law. That's required to be done. And so the great thing is that we can have confidence knowing that we have a highly certified assessor who is doing it correctly. I can't say it's always been perfect, but it is being done correctly now. So there are so many moving pieces within a assessor's office. Brian will tell you that it's not, everything doesn't fit in one little box. But as a whole, if you did no improvements to your property, you're probably looking at a 15% increase in your value. So if you take your value from last year, that's what mine did. So the good thing is that the millage rolling back is doing like that. So like I said, if the other entities step up and do what we're saying here, all ships rise together, right? That being said, any other questions?
All right. I want to thank you for your time and thank you for your work on this. I think you spent a lot of late nights to pull this
A
together.
lot of late nights, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you.
I'll call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor, so that's 5-0. All right, that brings us to item 10B, which is the Republic Services landfill presentation. The Charlotte area president, Shane Walker, is here. I want to welcome you here.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, council, and staff. Appreciate you letting us speak today. Tough act to follow with the millage roll back there from the tax guy, but I'll do my best as a garbage man. Appreciate the opportunity. I want to talk to you a little about the current state of your solid waste operations in Chester County and a little bit of our thinking on long-term strategy. You know, we're your existing partner now for your transfer and disposal from your transfer station that the county operates. On that same piece of property, you operate a construction and demolition landfill, and there's an old municipal solid waste trench landfill that predated the current Subtitle D regulations that's been closed. So the current state for Chester, as I mentioned, are those three kind of operations on the property that you own. Republic owns about 800 acres surrounding that property. And so I'd say from the current state, like many counties in the Piedmont region and in South Carolina and kind of in the Carolinas, your waste is transported to a neighboring county in Union County where we operate a landfill called Upstate Regional. Cherokee County kind of does the same thing. They operate a transfer station. We transfer the waste to Upstate Regional. York County has their own transfer station. They transfer waste down to the Columbia Market to a competitor's landfill. And then Lancaster County, same thing. They own a transfer station. we have a contract for transfer and disposal. It goes to a landfill that we have in Lee County, so kind of in the Midlands. What's unique about South Carolina's current disposal structure and capacity is, while the upstate of South Carolina has, I would say, adequate capacity in the way of both municipal or publicly owned and private owned landfills, Piedmont area, and I'd call, this area that, it's not, landfills are non-existent. They kind of all closed back in the, at least probably latest in the 90s when new regulations came on board. The Midlands of South Carolina have, I would say, ample capacity for today. So one of the reasons we're here today, while the existing structure of what Chester County are doing is working fine in that the waste moves to a facility that has capacity, I would say cost effectively. As we look out 10, 12, 15 years, kind of, planning for both Chester as a valued partner to Republic, we appreciate the relationship we have now. We have a contract with you guys. Like I mentioned, for transfer disposal, we haul your convenience centers. Great contract for Republic. Appreciate we feel as a partner to you, not just looking, we need to look beyond the dates of the existing contract again. And so as capacity in the state, just to give you a little color here, the last landfill that was permitted and open in South Carolina was Upstate Regional in Union County. That was in the late 90s. As landfills have come offline in those 25 years or so, you have less facilities and you have existing facilities that have diminished capacity and life of site. So if you kind of look out 10 to 12 years, and South Carolina's not unique, there is a crunch for like what happens next. And so what we are proposing, and not asking council to act on anything tonight, but for the opportunity to continue for us to put together an exploration of what we could do with your existing assets in conjunction with the property that we own around that. So what that would look like is closing your transfer station and eliminating the couple $1 million expense that come with that, converting your C&D landfill onto the liner and essentially reopening your municipal solid waste landfill. And to some degree, probably that's not on a liner now. We would hopefully put that on a liner and open up a modern Subtitle D facility on the existing property where your assets are now. So what that would accomplish is it would eliminate, as I mentioned, the transfer and disposal cost. It would give you the opportunity to provide free or reduced disposal to all your residents in Chester County. It would certainly mitigate the environmental risk that you have with the property that you own and the existing operations and the operations of the municipal solid waste landfill that closed back in the 90s. You were talking about economic development earlier. Having essential infrastructure like a Subtitle D landfill has been proven out to be a great economic tool in attracting industry. And so, it's a lengthy process. This is not something that, obviously we take lightly. There's a lengthy permitting process that would involve South Carolina DES. I think if you had someone from DES here, they would agree with our assertion that diminishing capacity in the way of landfill assets in the state is a problem. And it's particularly a problem in not just because of South Carolina, but as current state goes, there's waste from South Carolina that migrates into North Carolina into a couple privately owned landfills, one of which Republic owns, that have 7 or 8 years of life. So that's when the reason we are here tonight, while it sounds like, hey, your situation is pretty good today, our concern is that as capacity, as the upstate grows, so kind of Greenville, Spartanburg, Lawrence, Union, our capacity at upstate regional diminishes. And not that we would shut Chester County out, but we are looking for alternative resources given just kind of the rapid development that you have, particularly in the upstate and the Piedmont of the Carolinas. And so that would impact Chester. So again, our ask here is not tonight. We're not putting a contract or document in front of you to approve. But what we're looking for is alignment on pursuing or allowing us to continue to explore this, what that looks like from a permitting process, and giving you better information on what that package would look like for the county. So with that, I'll pause and see if you have any questions.
So you say Republic owns 800 acres around the existing Chester County landfill?
Give or
How long-
take.
How long has that been the case?
Probably since the early 90s. And I'd say a couple of subsidiaries of Republic. That was actually explored as a possibility back in the 90s, was permitting a larger landfill there.
How much of that 800 acres would you use the entire 800 acres for the landfill?
No, sir. So, and we'll share all this in kind of conceptual, assuming y'all asked for that, but probably give or take, I'd say 175 acres of the 800 that we own and the several hundred that y'all own would look like footprint of the landfill. So you have extensive buffer around it. That, your current operations, I mean, it would expand beyond that, but you would still have, very similar kind of buffer as to what you have now.
And you would place a liner on the landfill that we have that's currently out of spec because it's so old, it's grandfathered, and it potential hazard by today's rules.
Yeah, and we don't have, I mean, you certainly do data if there's been any environmental risk to that property. But what we think is there's about 3 million cubic yards of municipal solid waste and what, it's kind of a trench landfill is what they called it. We would be able, and we've done this in other spots where we've been able to relocate that waste onto the liner.
Thank you.
So when you get permitting for something like this, you would get permitting to do 175 acres as landfill?
Yeah, it's so council's role in this is, first, we have to be consistent with your solid waste management plan and your desire to operate a facility that would basically provide the benefits that I've outlined earlier. The state of South Carolina has an obligation through DES to go through a very complicated and extensive permitting process that would take care of the technical, the environmental, the legal. There's a process for, obviously, the citizens offend process where there's public hearings and all for any concerns to be addressed.
I guess my concern is it's already a landfill. We already got a landfill there, but my concern is if you own 800 acres, I'll probably be dead and gone. But I would hate to imagine or think that that whole 800 acres could become landfill at one time. So that's why I asked the question, how much land would you actually request to get permitted for a landfill?
So the regulations require certain buffers from the nearest resident. We've conceptually looked at this. It's probably no more than 200 acres, give or take. There's mitigation from wetlands, neighbors, I'll give you for example. We own 2,500 acres in Union County. About 225 of that's permitted airspace. So 2,500. We don't need quite that much for here, but I would say 200 acres is a good average number. But you'll get to see that, assuming that we move forward. You will get a design that'll tell you down 201.5.
Could you, I'm sorry, kind of follow up with what you said. Could you tell me like what the timeline is for the lifespan of the landfill? Like how long would that be roughly?
So depending on again, the permitted capacity, and if this played out like we think, and it's part of this, so part of the permitting process is an annual capacity or annual volume limit that we could take. Mm-hmm. If this was built out, it would probably say 40 years of capacity, give or take.
Yeah. Okay.
It wouldn't look like Lee County, would it?
What's your question there?
Would it look like Lee County riding down I-26? Where's the mountain?
No, look, there's the uniqueness of Lee County is it sits right on the interstate, and it'll look like a landfill.
Well, we know Lee County gets New York trash every day, so that's why it's so high.
I can assure you, our intent, this would be a regional landfill that where we would have no intent of taking any northeast waste.
All right, are there any more questions at this time?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your presentation.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. All right, that brings us to item 10C, which is the first reading of CCMA 25-18, CDP, Great Falls LLC, request a portion of tax map number 161-01-00-059-000, 1.3 acres, located off Ridgeway Road, Great Falls, South Carolina, 29055, from multi-family residential district, RG1, to general commercial district, GC. The Planning Commission voted 6-0 to approve. It's a pleasure of council.
I make a motion, we approve that, but I have a question.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, go ahead, Mr. Agee.
Did you say Ridgeway or Richburg Road?
Said Ridgeway. Is that accurate? That's correct. Yes, sir.
Now, Ridgeway Road, is that old Winnsboro Road, or is that a Highway 21?
So it is Ridgeway Road south of Great Falls. I believe that is Highway 21.
Right before you get to the county line?
Correct, yes, sir.
All right, is there any more discussion? Not, I'll call for the question. Those in favor of the first reading of CCMA 25-18, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, all in favor. Brings us to 10D, which is the first reading of CCMA 25-19, CB America LP, a Georgia Limited Partnership, request tax map number 080-04-05-026-000, 1.4 acres, located at 527 Great Falls Highway, Chester, South Carolina, 29706, from General Commercial District, GC, to Restricted Industrial District, ID1. The Planning Commission voted 6-0 to approve.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of CCMA 25-19.
A second.
All right, is there any discussion?
Another question, where's 527 Great Falls Highway?
Yes, sir, Mr. Agee. So this is the former Haybo Outdoors warehouse that is right over here on Wilson Street and Great Falls Highway. So it is just at the corner right over here. Haybo Outdoors is moving their warehouse into the city of Chester, and so this is a rezoning to allow a new industry that Mr. Long has recruited to fill the spot.
Is there any more questions or discussion? Not, I'll call for the question. Those in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor. Next, we have 10E, which is the first reading of CCMA 25-20, ICB America LP, a Georgia Limited Partnership, request tax map number 080-04-05-027-000, which is 0.102 acres, located next to 527 Great Falls Highway, Chester, South Carolina, from General Commercial District to Restricted Industrial District, which is ID1. The Planning Commission voted 6-0 to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve CCMA 25-20.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor. All right, number 11, we don't have any boards and commissions tonight, so that brings us to number 12, which is executive session. A is the discussion of matters relating to the proposed location, expansion, or the provision of services, encouraging location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body, which is the Chester R&D Park. B is the same, but for project P2038. And then C is discussion of a personnel matter regarding clerk to council. Is there a motion to go to executive session?
Make a motion, we move to executive session. Sorry.
I'll second.
All right, is there any